Today's guest is Carson Quinene. He is a blue belt under Gabriel Sousa, and he also is bigger in the jiu-jitsu YouTube community. We started speaking about having a career in jiu-jitsu outside of just being really good at jiu-jitsu. We talked a little bit about how he started and how I found him through Andrew Wilsey. I found the conversation to be very interesting, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. Also, if you wish to support the podcast, I have a newsletter, and I have 2 free training programs that you can find on my website that will be linked in the description below. I'm trying to put out a newsletter every Friday, so I hope you enjoy, and let's get to the podcast.
Hey guys, so my name is Carson Quinene. I'm a blue belt under Gabriel Sousa out of your team Apex, and I've been training jiu-jitsu for about 2 years. The way I kind of got into it, so early 2021, kind of got dumped by my girlfriend. My friend group split up, so I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. I have all this free time, and I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to try it. I've been looking at it, so I finally went to my first gym at Open Guard, and I started in January of 2021. And 2 years later, I have about 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. I won second place at the White Belt Pan Ams, and it's overall, like, it's just become my life. I had a few jobs in between these last 2 years, but now with the help of my parents, I'm diving full time into jiu-jitsu and YouTube, and hopefully within the next year or two, I can get it on its feet. But that's kind of how I started. That's kind of how it's going so far. So, yeah.
All right, and we were talking a little bit about this before, but let's kind of get into how you really started and how I found you with being Andrew's kind of filmmaker, editor guy. Yeah. And let's get into that story.
Yeah, so I was working out. It was a Wednesday night. I was working out, and I get a call from this random number. And I like to keep my spam calls. I don't like use any of those blockers or anything because I like messing with them sometimes. Like, especially when they keep calling me on repeat, I'll mess with them. But this night I was just working out, and I almost didn't answer because I was like, I'm tired of this. I don't really want to answer it right now. But I was like, you know what? I'll just pick up. So I picked it up, and he's like, hello? I'm like, hey. And he goes, is this Carson Quinene? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? He goes, this is Andrew Wilsey. And I almost shit myself. I'm like, oh, shit. You know? And I was like, hey, what's going on? Because I commented under one of his posts asking for videographers and people to help him. And he kind of was like, yeah, we'll talk. And then maybe a few weeks go by, and I didn't really hear anything about it. But he reached out to me, a few weeks later. And he's like, when can you get out here? And I was like, I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks. And he's like, can you get out here Monday? And I was like, I guess I'll make it,
Jeez.
I actually just competed at a recent tournament, but I had to cancel the one previous, and I got full credit for this one because I was supposed to compete back then, and he was like, nah, we need you now. So I canceled that tournament and flew up. So when I got there, now, throughout this whole thing, no hate to Andrew or Bert or anyone, I've seen the Daisy Fresh stuff, but I was not ready for it, bro. Like, I walk in, and it was like a 5-hour drive to his house from the airport. So he picked me up. We drive to his house, and we walk in, and I'm like, okay, this is a completely different lifestyle. Like my mom, we're from Guam, so we have a little bit of Asian blood in us, and stereotypical Asian communities, like shoes off at the door, clean everything. At Andrew's house, bro, I'm like stepping over stuff, and he gets to like the living room, and he's like, all right, this is where you'll be sleeping, and it's just like a mattress on the floor, and it's just like covered in stuff, so I'm moving things out of the way.
Oh, jeez.
Some really old ass sheets on it. It was actually Bird's old bed. Okay. And it was just sitting in the corner of the room. There were like spiders, and it's just dusty. And I'm not used to that, Yeah. That's their world. So it was an experience getting there. But I got settled in. I met 2 really, really good friends of mine, Floor and Riley. Shout out to them. I met those guys through Andrew and Bird. So I was up there for about 2.5 months, and I maybe trained a week's worth for like 2.5 months. I don't know what it was. It was like, well, first of all, I think I got staph.
Oh shit!
Like within my first week of getting there, and then I had it's another skin disease. It wasn't as serious. It was just still not good. It was like all on my arm right here.
Oh no!
I didn't want to get anyone else, with the skin disease. So I was out for a little bit because of that, especially the last week. Like I got the second one as soon as they opened up the new Daisy Fresh gym. So like I
Oh,
was gonna go train hard there and then kind of exploded. The reason, I- like the old Daisy Fresh building, it's bad. It was bad, bro. I don't know how they did it. I could not. I could not. I hear a lot of things where the Daisy Fresh guys are like, some people come up here thinking they'll live in the gym, and then they're out in like the first 2 months. Bro, I could not last a week in there.
it's just too hard.
It's just I don't know, man. Like the mats, like living in there, I could maybe train in there, but like living in there, like to come home, and it's just like you got this mattress and your kitchen's like a desk.
Oh, fuck.
You got one bathroom shared between like 7 dudes. It's not for me.
No.
But it was a really good time. Everyone was super nice. There was a little bit of tension up while I was up there, but I think they resolved that. And I heard everyone's doing really well. I spoke to them at Pans, Alejandro, and some of the other guys, and they said everything's going pretty well up there. So
That's sick. And do you think that, like, compared to your school now, how different is the training?
at Daisy Fresh, they go like one of the classes I went to in the new school, they went just so many rounds. And here at ZR, I don't think we had like I don't think I trained with at Daisy Fresh. It's the only gym in for 2 or 3 hours,
Oh,
and
wow.
nowhere else. It's in the middle of nowhere. So everybody goes to that jiu-jitsu gym if they train. At ZR, we're kind of new. We're only a year in, so we don't have or 2 years in, but we don't have as many. We didn't have as many students. So I'm training with like the same people a lot in my school. But at Daisy Fresh, I probably went with like 30 different people
Wow.
in one session.
That's
And
crazy.
it's like they did King of the Hill. They did rounds where 5 people come in and one's in the middle for a minute and you're just rotating. But you're just getting through so many different fields and so many different people that was really interesting.
Do you think
But
there was, oh, sorry.
oh no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Do you think there's a lot of benefit to that and kind of just having so many different people
Oh
to
yeah, I
play
mean
off?
for sure. Here I train in ZR almost every morning. It's either the pro class or just the noon session. But at night, I normally jump around to a few other gyms around here. Like there's one gym, Open Guard, that's the gym I started at, and then TFDC, that's the gym my dad goes to. So I normally go to one of those at night or ZR. But I like getting around, feeling out different people because at ZR we have a lot of high level competitors, and going against Gabriel, Gustavo, and Vinny, those are like the top three. It's like I'm surviving. I'm
Yeah,
building character for that
you're
session,
struggling.
Yeah, it's like I don't. But going to these other gyms where people are more on my level, or the upper belts just aren't as world class. I can maybe get away with a few things or learn a little bit differently. So I think there's a lot of benefit to cross training, and that's something that I used to like try to hide it. Like but as time went on, I'm like, I'm just gonna embrace it. Like, I don't care who knows that I'm training at every gym in the triangle, but that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and you're cross training a lot. But what do you think like the difference is between training with Gabriel and then going to cross train at like some random gym where the black belt's at like your level?
I want to say the black belt's on my level, but the difference with Gabriel, the things that I'll notice is like when Gabriel turns it on, you, I, I've never felt so overwhelmed. Like it's just you'll know is like this guy is a black belt. Like like I remember he had me in side control one time, and I was like, I can't move. There's literally 0% chance of me getting out of here.
Oh, gee.
If he wants to keep me here, he's gonna keep me here. And that goes for like most every black belt. But you know, coming up a little bit on my training, like I'm probably in the gym at least 7 to 8 times a week. And a lot of the more casual black belts, like my friends, I don't know if they've ever like really turned it up on me, but rolling with them, I have a fighting chance sometimes. Sometimes, depends on who I'm going. But with Gabriel, like when he wants to keep you somewhere, he keeps you there.
Yeah.
And especially like when he's passing, it's just relentless. He never gets tired. That's the other thing.
Damn.
When he came back after ADCC, when he came back down from New York after training with JT Torres, it was like we're all sitting on the floor, like lying on the floor, dead. And he just walked around like, all right, you guys ready? Like, let's
Gee.
go. We got 10 more rounds. So Gabriel, training with Gabriel is like, as a world-class athlete, I can feel the level difference between him and a more local black belt.
Okay, and with him being a world-class athlete, I know sometimes it's hard for them to kind of be the same world-class coach. How do you
Mhm.
feel like that coaching has translated to you?
So at the start, when I was first in ZR, I think 2021,
Hmm.
I wouldn't say like when I first came there, I was like, wow, the level of training was a lot higher. I was like, wow, this is really, really good. As I started to understand it more, I felt like just him. I'm a type. There's different ways for learning. Like people learn differently. For me, I'm very like I want to know every single little detail.
Hmm.
And for Gabriel, I feel like he's just so natural. He skims over a few details because it's built into him. You know, he's
Yeah.
been training for 13 years. Um, so I'd say like at the start, it was a little harder for me to like really learn from him because I want the small, minute details. But since I'd say post summer when I came back from Andrew's house and he came back from New York, his level of teaching increased incredibly. Like he was a really great competitor, but he's becoming a lot better as a teacher.
Hmm. And do you think it just changed by focusing in on those details he's missing, or what do you think changed about his coaching?
Yeah, because I think when as he was training for ADCC, you know, he put everything on the table.
Hmm.
I know as I was talking to him earlier, he started watching instructionals. And then like I remember I was at like a party with him and he was talking about like prior to ADCC and some of these events, he never really like learned why he did stuff. He just did it naturally. But like now he's understanding like the chains and understanding his movements a little bit more. And I that reflects in his teaching a lot. Like when he came back down from JT Torres' gym, he really changed as a competitor and a teacher, I'd say.
That's pretty sick. And did like the way he felt too? Did that change? Do you think?
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like his whole style completely like flip-flopped. Watching him, I remember Toro Cup. He's done, I think, 3 Toro Cups since I've been in ZR. He did 2 with the Corby brothers, and then 1 with Gianni Grippo just recently.
Hmm.
And watching him against the Corby brothers, and then watching him against Gianni, it was incredible. I mean, I was still a white belt when he fought the Corby brothers, and maybe I just wasn't understanding it. But watching him against Gianni and just how much more technical he was, again, I was a white belt and I'm a blue belt now, so I can't really say like the level difference, but to me, I just saw a huge difference with
In
his
that.
with his game.
Yeah, and do you think that training with him and having those higher level guys is something that's changed your game too? Because you've been seeing a lot of success with your comps and just rolling and stuff. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we have Tuesday and Thursday are the pro classes, and that's kind of more that's their training, and we're there to help them, but
Hmm.
we're also learning off of it as well. So like going against them, it's like when I'm figuring out a move, I'm like, okay, what are the mistakes I'm making, or where are the holes? As
Hmm.
soon as I go with them, I'm like, all right, this is all screwed up. You know, like I can see where maybe this will work on, upper belts from other gyms. When I tried against them, it's just not the same. They give me that world class response. So when I'm learning new moves and I go to them and I try it out against them and I see what responses I'm getting, those are like the top of the line. So that's kind of what I compare it to. And then when I go back against people my level or more casual people,
Hmm.
and I try it out on them, I'm like, okay, this is the reaction they're giving me, and this is the reaction Gabriel's giving me, and I kind of compare them, and I can
Hmm.
use that to further my progress within that move.
Okay, and because you have that comparison and kind of that crazy high level training partners, in a
Mhm.
way, do you feel like not you're sandbagging, but it's almost like an unfair advantage at the tournaments, or maybe there's some way you should be going higher and competing at a higher level?
So I'd say like the one I just recently did, CXBJJ. I feel really, really comfortable. That's part of I'd say like competition wise, my confidence comes from knowing my game, knowing like, okay, this works and this is working for me. And it's like competing, it's all confidence, I'd say. Um, Back when I was a white belt and I did my IBJJF tournaments,
Hmm.
I was super confident because I was a year in and I was at the top of white belt. in terms of like experience for most people. So I was really confident. And I was, I won my 2 IBJJFs and then got second in pans. But when it came to blue belt, it's like, okay, I'm at the bottom again. Like,
You're building up.
yeah, I gotta restructure everything. But I'd say training with the world class athletes, and if I get an advantage, when I go to the higher level IBJJF tournaments, like just recently at Pans, everyone's training with world class athletes at that point. Once you make it past like rounds 2 and 3, like you're facing the best of the best at your level as well. So I'd say locally, I feel really comfortable. At the high levels, I feel like it's just another, like we're at the same level. I don't feel like I have a step above a lot of guys, and especially like for blue belt, for Pans and worlds. I just feel like the training we're getting is pretty similar. If you're competing at that level, you're training with these high level guys as well.
Okay. And when you started training with him, is there something you wish like that you know now because you know your game and you know how your jiu-jitsu works? Do you wish there was something you knew as you started that you know now that would improve that?
So I've been meaning to make YouTube videos on this, but like the biggest thing for me was finding a game. And I actually learned that coming back from Andrew's house. So when I was at Andrew's, I was like, okay, what's the best passing method and what's the best guard? And for him, he said reverse De La Hiva and then headquarters passing. So I spent the next coming up on a year now just focusing on reverse De La Hiva and headquarters passing. And that's how I've seen the most success. Like in all my competitions, or in this recent one at least, I hit maybe 3 or 4 knee slices. And I didn't really do that much reverse De La Hiva. But in terms of knee slices, like that's my go-to pass and I can rely on it. So now now that I can rely on a technique, now I'm starting to branch off. But getting a solid foundation, like learn the fundamentals and then I'd say focus on something. At white belt, like finding your game, I feel like if you just focused on, like a lot of guys, if you just focus on leg locks from the beginning and then you start working your way up and you have no fundamentals, you can't complement. If you're not in a leg locking position and they just avoid it the whole time, you're pretty screwed.
That's true.
You just have one set game. But if you get your foundation and then start branching off and it complements your foundation, I feel like that's the way to go. Because I remember I made a video called "What's the difference between white belts and blue belts?" And the main difference, I feel like, higher level blue belt, you start to figure out your game, and you start to get really good at this one specific technique. Whereas white belts, you need to experiment with everything and see what works for you and what your body type kind of complements, and then kind of dive into your game. Because I feel like if you just focus on one thing, going from white belt and up, you're gonna get, like, for me, the triangle, it literally carried me through almost every white belt competition. Like I did the math. 50% of my submissions were triangles, and I think 70 to 80% of my matches at white belt I submitted. But when I hit blue belt, I don't think I got a single triangle for like the first 2 or 3 competitions.
Damn.
Like it's so different. And I focused so much on the triangle, and it was the only thing I did at white belt. Pull guard, triangle. If that didn't work, I was done. Like I focusing now at blue belt, I'm working more on my fundamentals than I was at white belt, and I'm seeing a lot more success with that because I didn't really have a lot of strong fundamentals at white belt. I just had the triangle, and I focused on that, but it hasn't carried me as much as it did in white belt.
Okay. And you kind of talk about fundamentals and like building them, and jiu-jitsu is kind of weird where there's just so many options and there's just everything. And we know John kind of talks about fundamentals being escapes, but for you, what were those fundamentals where you were like, okay, I know this and this is my base?
So it's John Danaher, right?
Yeah, John Danaher.
Yeah. So I mean, I watched a lot of his passing instructionals and a lot of like the first few bits of his escapes and guard retention, and that is what I'd say. Like, if you get all the Danaher instructionals, watch the first like 2 hours of them, or maybe like the first hour of each instructional, because he kind of goes through and talks about the fundamentals for those. I'd say like the guard retention, the guard passing, foundation, and like the fundamentals from those 2 instructionals. That's kind of where I started at. Like, he talks about coming in behind your hands and not just stepping in, because when you step in, you get entangled into the guard. But if you're behind your hands, now you can fight their feet first and then work your way. And then for guard retention, it's just like getting them off your set, or if they cut an angle to you, you need to realign your center line. Always make sure your feet are facing them. Stuff like that. That's kind of what I started focusing on is guard passing fundamentals and then guard retention fundamentals. However, my submissions have suffered pretty badly. Like I barely submitted in my last competition, but I got past the guard and I was able to keep people away from passing my guard a lot. So that for me, I feel like guard passing and guard retention are my two favorite things that I like to focus on in jiu-jitsu. And now I need to work on my submissions, but I feel like guard passing and guard retention was where I started at and what I've seen the most success with.
Okay, so you kind of focused in on those bigger concepts and understood those rather than like specific moves.
Yeah. So like I like I mean the knee slice is my number one move. But chaining and kind of learning the concepts of, okay, if I shift my weight here, then he can push me over. Like with the knee slice, I'll always dive my head down, put it right, get ear to ear with them. And it's really hard for them to push me over. And that's more, it's the knee slice, but that's the fundamentals of the knee slice, So that's kind of what I started focusing on is the fundamentals of my moves instead of just being, okay, knee slice is this, Toriano is this. It's like the fundamentals that work within them.
Okay. And you talked about like your submissions kind of lacked. So moving forward, are you going to continue to work on your fundamentals and then incorporate the attacking phases, or what are you looking to do, and like how are you going to structure your training?
So my training is right now it's a little weird because I'm preparing to go on a jiu-jitsu retreat with Jordan, Jedi, and them. And
I saw that's sick.
Yeah, but I'm preparing for that, and I'm actually moving to Seattle soon.
Okay.
So I'm getting like all my YouTube stuff figured out, all my drives put away and emptied, and training's kind of like it's kind of on the back end. I'm only training like once a day right now. I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, you're good. Well, actually, I was just asking how are you going to incorporate training, but I think you brought up something kind of like interesting with you moving. So are you going to move out here to be at 10th Planet, or where are you looking to train out of in Seattle?
So I'm actually, are you based out in Seattle?
I'm like 5 hours away in Southern Oregon.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah.
So in Seattle, there's a gym that I visited last time I was up there called Mat Chess. It's actually my biggest video right now. It's female brown belt obliterates blue belt. It's got like 150K. And
Okay.
like when I went up there, I went with this woman. Her name was Sen. She's like 100. She's smaller than I am. Like 5'5". And dude, she beat my ass. I remember midway through the match, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna turn it on. And I tried, bro. I went my hardest. I used every ounce of. There's a part in that video where you'll see my face change, and I'm like, I go for a double leg, and she just throws my ass on the mat.
Oh,
Like,
Jesus.
and I was like, I don't know what you guys are teaching her, but I need to learn that.
So that's what you're going to go train with her now full time?
Well, so my girlfriend's she's got a job up there,
Okay.
and so she's moving up there, and I'm going with her. But it's gonna be really cool, because we're going from here to we're traveling up there road trip, and we're visiting a bunch of gyms. I'm actually going to Tyler Spangler's gym in Chicago, or not Chicago, in Minneapolis, and David Heineman, he's a self-defense instructor. I'm visiting him in Chicago. Those are the two that I know of so far, but I need to get a few more on board.
Okay, that'll be sick. And is it going to be permanent out there for you guys, or just a couple months?
Hopefully it's a year,
Okay.
and she's able to work remote after a year. Otherwise, I mean, I love Seattle. I've been up there for the past 2 years in the summer, and it's been beautiful. I haven't seen the rest of the year. Like I haven't seen the rest of the months how it looks like, but at least for me, summer, amazing, and I would stay there the rest of my life. But hopefully it's a year. She's able to work remotely, and my job's pretty much anywhere that there's a gym.
That's true. Let's kind of circle back to the brown belt just destroying you. What was that like? Like how did that feel, and like how opening was that to your game and where you were lacking?
So that was in, I believe, July, and I flew back from Andrew's house, did a Toro Cup, and then flew out to meet Kate, my girlfriend, in Seattle. And that's when I first started experimenting with the reverse de la Hiva and the knee slice. And in the video, you'll see me go for it a few times, but it's like super sloppy. I'd say I learned it in summer, so May, June, and I'd say I figured it out enough to like for it to work in November, December. So it took me a
Okay.
while to like really understand the mechanics of the knee slice. And in that video, you just like I'm trying, but she's too high level. She's too
Yeah.
high level, and I'm restarting my game at that point. So I was just getting demolished.
Just beating you down.
Yeah, it's like she went for also my leg lock game really really bad at that time. I couldn't defend leg locks. I've gotten a little bit better, but at that point she was just toe hold, toe hold, toe hold, straight ankle lock. As soon as she grabbed my ankle, bro, I was tapping because I was
Damn.
like, damn, that hurts. And then at the end she was like, you don't have to tap that early, right? And that's when I started getting better at straight ankle locks. So I was like, dang, that hurts, but I'm good for a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
But prior to that, bro, it was bad. I think
That
she
sounds
tapped me
rough.
out. It was a 5 minute roll. It had to have been like 8 or 10 times.
Jeez. So it was pretty she beat you down.
Yeah, she broke my spirit.
So
I was
and
getting torched.
when we talk about like kind of losing and stuff, what do you think one of your biggest failures in jiu-jitsu has been so far, and whether that's with YouTube or even just rolling, and what do you think you learned
Damn.
from it?
I'd say biggest failures probably losing. I mean, yeah, it would have to be losing white belt, the getting second in white belt. That's an accomplishment, I guess, but you know, I remember going into that match thinking I was gonna lose. I was like, I'm drained. I had less than 5 minutes rest between the last match and that one, went the whole 5 minutes with
Jeez.
a really really scrappy guy. And I knew the guy that I was facing in the finals. He'd been training for 3 years, and he got second 2 years prior to that pans.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this guy's tough. And I had again like maybe 5 minutes rest. So I was just mentally I wasn't that's probably my biggest failure. Just mentally I was out of it. I'd already
Okay.
lost in my head. So going into that match, I pretty much knew that I was gonna lose.
Yeah.
I did not have a lot of confidence, and and that really showed in that match.
And do you
But the
think?
thing
Oh, sorry.
the things that I learned that I'm coming to learn is like um things that give me confidence is my training being really really tight and knowing my game, and then also like having a good post match ritual where it's like I need water and I need electrolytes and I need like I eat Sour Patch Kids between matches now. I'll pop like two or three just to get that little sugar and energy rush.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's placebo or it actually works, that helps me mentally. And that's something that I've learned. Like at this recent tournament, I had 8 matches, and I hadn't done 8 matches in a while. But, making sure I have my water, I have my electrolytes and stuff like that, that's really given me a lot of confidence. And that's something that I learned from competing so much.
So it taught
And
you kind of how to be like a full athlete almost.
yeah, yeah, I was winging it up until then. I was just like, okay, we'll go in here. I always forgot my water, bro. That's like
Yeah.
it's such a rookie thing. I never bought my water. After the first match, I'm like, ask my dad and my girlfriend, I'm like, can you give me water? I'm dying over here.
Oh
And
no.
and I had to learn like I need to take it more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah.
that's yeah.
And circling back, you said that guy had been doing the pans for the past 2 years already.
Yeah.
So you might have been a sandbagging a little bit too, right?
Here in my opinion, and who am I? But I think white belt, especially if you third place, I get it if you're staying for another year. Second place, I feel like I should not. If I got second in that Pan Ams and then I waited a whole other year and competed again, I don't know, dude. I just be like, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
kind of rough.
I'm like white belt for 1 year. I feel like you're at the end. Like if you've been competing as like at least for me, competing as much as I was like at the end of a year, I should be a blue belt. Like just for respect of jujitsu, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't want to complain about it, but yeah, that was it sucks. But I
That's a
will
real
say
thing.
I'm glad I lost
Yeah.
because if I had won that, it's like, oh, I'm the fucking best white belt, you know.
Hmm.
But getting it humbled me in a way, you know. It's like that was a really well loss on, you know, a white belt tournament, and it pushes me more to do better at blue belt. So
So it was worth the sandbag loss.
it was worth it.
There you go.
Unfortunately, I still got my blue belt out of the tournament. It was still a really good video.
That's awesome. I've heard you kind of say like, oh, I did the math, you know, I do these, I have my training. Like you seem very organized and kind of like you know what you want to do. So what are you using as a resource for your training to improve? Are you just watching instructionals? Are you watching your own footage? Are you watching pro matches? What does that off the mat training look like?
So I used to watch instructionals. I don't really do it anymore. Um, I'd say the biggest leg up I have on most people for training is being able to watch my matches because I'm recording them at every competition and just doing jiu-jitsu YouTube. Like for the editing process, at least I'm rewatching the same fight at least 10 times, 10 to 15 sometimes, you know? So I'm looking at my match footage and I'm rewatching it, editing it, and I'm just being so exposed to watching myself that I'm catching these little details every time I replay it. And I've grown so much from that. Like, so, and even from my watching my competitors, like if they ever see this, Randy from Mudita, the kid I just went against, I've stolen his passing flow, just the way he's moving on the outside. Caleb, I stole his wrestling, and you'll see that in the CXBJJ video this weekend. Caleb, I forgot his last name, but I fought him at New Breed a few months ago, and his wrestling, like I copied it. I just watched him, took it, and now it's mine. And then, you know, being able to watch my matches, see my mistakes, and all of that, that has been the biggest leg up, I feel like. Because
Okay.
people, you know, they'll go to competitions, okay, I did this wrong, and I did this wrong, and I did this right. Let me improve on that. But when I'm able to just watch it so many times repetitively, I just feel like it's really, 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 really taking my jiu-jitsu to another level.
And when you're watching it, are you like taking notes like, oh, this is where my leg was, where it should have been here? Or are you like thinking more, it's like, oh, next time I roll, I need to improve my passing? Like, how does that look for you to actually improve off your film?
I don't really take notes of my film. Mentally, yeah, but I'm watching it so much that I'm so exposed to it. Um, and it's just like for the World Series tournament that I did a few weeks ago, you'll see me going against this blue belt in the second round, and as I was passing on the outside, my hips were super high. And in this recent video at CXPGJ, you'll see my hips are super low. Not super low, but they're a lot lower than they were. And that's just something that I'm able to pick up on. Watching my matches, being like, okay, I did this wrong. Let me fix it, and just mentally make a note of that and make sure that I'm hammering at that in training.
Okay.
My training, it's a lot of, okay, this is what I want to work on today. So I'll put myself in those positions, or I'll make sure I get into those positions, and I'll just keep doing that.
Okay. So you're more just working on what you see as you're editing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
But I always go through all my footage when I get home, and then, you know, in the editing process, I'm catching everything. So
do you think that people should just be recording their roles regardless of if they're a YouTuber or whatever?
I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Being able to watch yourself and like see everything you're doing is I feel like it's one of the biggest growth factors that you can get.
And if someone didn't have like the camera equipment you have and stuff, what, just their phone
Just
post it up?
an iPhone and a tripod. I mean,
Okay.
if you're not looking to do YouTube or anything like that, even if you are, you don't need a crazy camera. But if you want to watch your matches back, yeah, just an iPhone would work to study off of it.
Okay. And then what are like three of the more influential people to your jiu-jitsu game? Obviously you met Andrew LC, and I'd imagine that has some kind of impact, but
Yeah.
what are some of the other people?
So definitely Andrew. If I had to name three more, it would be Gabriel, for sure. He's my professor, and I didn't do it as much because I was focusing on Andrew's style. But recently, I have my middle distance passing, right, the knee slice. But recently I've been focusing on the outside passing, and that's where I go to Sousa. You know, so his outside passing is outstanding. So I've been working on that a little bit more. Danaher for sure. He's the guy that I watch all my instructionals off of, and I'd say Andrew, Danaher, and Gabriel are the people that I've made my game after. Someone more locally though, I'd have to go Jeff Piercy. He was my first coach, and I use a lot of his triangle. He's the guy that taught me the triangle, my best submission, and I've used a lot of his half guard games. So I'd say those four are probably the most influential in my games so far.
So those would be more of the people you've used to find resources and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And you obviously get a front row look into Gabriel, and then you kind of did for Andrew. But for someone who doesn't have that, like you're saying, John, are you just you're watching the instructionals, but his YouTube too? Well, not his, but YouTube in general. Are you just doing that and film and stuff?
Do you mean
like studying off of it?
Yeah, yeah. John's the guy I go to study. Again, I like very small, every single detail. So like John, he'll sit there for 30 minutes and talk to you about a knee slice and every little weight distribution you need. And that's kind of what I like, So John is my go-to guy for those types. I just learn best from him.
Okay. That's sweet. And then like if you're watching it, are you kind of thinking like, okay, in the next training room, I'm going to use this move specifically, or are you thinking my whole point of this next training session is just a knee slice?
So for instructionals and stuff, I take notes. Like I have a good few pages of Google Docs, like at least 16 pages worth of notes that I have on his instructionals. But yeah, I like to focus on his concepts a lot. So I used to have good drilling partners in the morning. Like last year, I was super tight. I was training at least 3 to 5 hours a day, which isn't crazy, but I go for pretty long morning sessions with Akil and Owen were two of my guys, and we'd focus a lot on what we learned from the Danaher instructionals. But recently, with everything going on, I just haven't been able to get those types of sessions in. So I've been just trying my best to make sure I hit those in the morning classes. But I will give a shout out to Sam, the coach for the noon classes at ZR. He helps tailor the classes for me. So like, whatever I'm working on, he'll try to structure it a little bit. If I'm like, all right, I'm thinking I need to do back attacks, then we'll dive into some back stuff. Because most of the other guys at morning class, they're, I guess in a sense, more casual. No, I don't think there's a lot of other competitors for the noon class. So, they can benefit off of a lot. So he just kind of helps me out in that way, which is really, really cool.
Okay, so that's sick. You get kind of like hands-on work with people. Yeah. That's awesome.
And he'll sit in the gym for an extra hour with me, just going over whatever I need. So 10 out of 10. Like one of my best training partners right now.
How are you finding these training partners? Are you asking people in your gym for this stuff, or are you just lucky that these people are around you?
Yeah, I was just lucky. Akil and Owen, we just decided, hey, we'll wake up this morning and go to the gym, and we were doing that for quite a while. And then Sam, he's a nerd like me for jiu-jitsu, so we can talk about it all day.
Yeah. That's kind of sick, and that you found this like community. Do you have advice for people who, sometimes there's gyms where people aren't the friendliest. So what advice would you give people to find like these study groups that are like-minded without being in a gym?
Well, at least for me, I have a lot of people that outside of my gym, like I talk to Tyler quite often. Okay. And I have a few other people in my circle that I talk to a lot just about jiu-jitsu in general. And I met a lot of people through social media and stuff like that. So if you're really looking to, in my opinion, if you're looking to become serious about jiu-jitsu, you need to start social media or some way to get your name out there, because just competing and winning, unless you are winning the top of the line ADCC and worlds and stuff, it's going to be really hard for you to make a living unless you're a professor and a black belt already. Mm-hmm. But as a blue belt, starting social media, it's helped me grow so much, not just in my training, but like as a career. In 2 years, I guarantee you I'll be able to make this a full career.
There you go.
I can do this the rest of my life.
Let's kind of like dive in. This is really where I wanted to talk to you, because I love jiu-jitsu. I love it all. But at the end of the day, you're a YouTuber, and that's kind of your thing too. Yeah. So let's kind of see, how'd you get started when you started jiu-jitsu? Were you like, I'm going to be a jiu-jitsu YouTuber, or were you eventually that came on?
So I'd say like in high school, I wanted to do like me and my friend Owen, we wanted to do like nature survival vlogs, but bro, we're from the suburbs. We're not like that, you know. Um, the closest woods we have is like down in the creek, and you can see houses all around. But I bought a Sony ZV-1 for that, and then never used it. And then I started jujitsu, and then about 3 to 4 months in, I was like, I want to start doing like YouTube stuff. So
Hmm.
I started with a few. I tried so hard in the beginning to make it all cinematic,
Hmm.
and I've just kind of tailored it down to more of my personality now. But I started in about June or May, and it's been really hard to get my feet off the ground. I'm grateful for how far I've come, but
Hmm.
Josh taking off immediately. Granted,
Yeah,
he, entering a blue belt, entering as a blue belt and beating a black belt, views. But
that's true.
yeah, so yeah, I kind of started in May and just started recording my roles, moved up to kind of commentating over the matches. That was the trend.
Hmm.
And I found I'd say just recently I found a really love for making match commentary videos. It was really hard at the start learning how to talk on camera. And I still struggle with it a lot, especially in public.
Yeah.
It's hard to turn that on and just be like, hey guys, and got people looking at you and stuff, but gotten a little bit better at that. That was the hardest thing to overcome and still overcoming. Um, but yeah, just now being able to crank out a video a week. That's the one thing that like took me a while. I'd say my girlfriend Kate back in October, I was like the bummiest I had ever been. I was
Hmm.
not putting out any videos, struggling with it. I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh too damn much. I got
Oh
back
my
into
god.
it, bro. I was just and October was bad, but she sat me down. She's like, "Look, you need to get your shit together." And I was like, "All right." So then I started putting out at least a video per week. And
Okay.
it's been amazing, learning so much with jiu-jitsu and being able to make this content and make content that I love, and combining both my passions with filmmaking and jiu-jitsu into one.
And
I
it's
don't
kind
know
of
how to
like,
answer your question. I kind of just went off nowhere, but
no, that's good, dude. That's what I want. I want people to know like how they got started. And I mean, you started at the beginning, so like a blue belt's pretty much beginning of jiu-jitsu, really, and that's sick to see you making it at that level.
yeah,
And you kind of went down the like vlogging, role recording path. I know YouTube, we have like the commentary path, and then we also have
mhm,
like the instructions path. Would
yeah.
you see yourself going more into the instruction path? Are you going to stay into the vlogging path? And what do you like about your vlogging path that you've taken in YouTube?
So I think the way I want to structure my channel eventually, when I'm able to like really do this full time and kind of make actual money off of it, I want to do at least a vlog per week because those are
Hmm.
pretty easy to make. A match commentary either per week or every other week, and then a 5 minute instructional video on a move. Because I think the instructional videos on moves, they're really easy to put out, and especially if you have a good fan base that likes you, they'll
Hmm.
watch it. And that is something that I like doing. But the vlog has got to be my favorite. I just I've started with the vlogs putting my personality out there a lot more. And not only do I just like how the videos come out, it's me. It's something that I can look back on and be like, oh, I remember this time. Um, it's just I feel like when you get a lot of people who start develop that community around you, and you can be yourself around it. That's the part that I want to get to because I feel like for a while I was trying to be really cinematic and I was trying to have really cool effects, but I didn't see any of myself in my videos,
Hmm.
and that's the biggest difference between then and now with my content is I have a lot more of my personality in it.
Okay, and I mean, they look sick, so they're obviously not like, I would say they're pretty cinematic in
Yeah,
general.
I've kept a few things, but like I used to spend like 2 hours on 30 seconds worth of effects. And I've kept it a little bit, but I've definitely toned it down and just started putting my personality in it a lot more.
Where do you think that like that time to turn that perfectionism off comes in? Do you think when you first start you should just hammer out like 100 videos as quick as you can, or do you think that when you first start you should have that like perfectionist mentality so you build into this kind of higher level YouTuber?
Well, I started with a perfectionist mentality
Hmm.
and I wanted to make really crazy effects, and it became like such a beginner. Like if you watch my earlier videos, it's like such beginner effects.
Uh-huh.
Um, I I'd say the best way is crank out 100 videos. I was watching Mr. Beast, and he said, your first 100 videos, they don't matter, and they really don't. Like, I started filming stuff at white belt, and I'm looking back at it, I'm like, I tried so hard, and this is just so mid. So like, you're not gonna like any of your first 100 videos, and I'm just now liking the content that I'm putting out. It was cool before, but now I can say like, I love this. I love this video that I made, and I haven't been able to say that for a while. Or since I started, this is the first time I'm able to do that. But all of it came from like experimenting with different thumbnails, different ways of approaching videos. Like Spangler, he's taught me a lot. So I definitely want to give credit to him with like just kind of how I'm running through my videos, because I used to just put so much fluff in it, and now, toning it down a little bit, and yeah.
So just kind of focusing in on your style would be more.
Yeah, I'd say at the end of the day, if you watch gym content, like maybe 10% of it is them actually working out, and the rest of it is them just talking shit. Just like talking to the camera, and people love it. People watch it because they fall in love with you, and then they watch your content. And that's kind of the road that I want to go on. I want people to like me for me, so I can do jiu-jitsu, or I can go play paintball one day, and people will still like it because they still like me. I feel like that's, at the end of the day, that's kind of what you have to really succeed on YouTube, is people have to like you to like your content. You can record anything, and as long as people like are entertained by your personality, then you'll do well.
Do you have some advice? Because I know talking to the camera is just a pain in the ass, and it's super nerve-wracking. Do you have advice on creating that likable personality? I mean, you probably have a more likable personality in general, so it's easier, but how would someone kind of tailor that?
It's like with the camera off, like I'm good. I'm very extroverted, very kind of loud, I'm one of those just kind of jolly types, I guess, but when the camera turns on, I get really condensed. I'm even stuttering so much on this podcast, and
you're good.
So I'd say like, what's the biggest difference that I see myself right now versus when I first started is just I've turned the camera on my face so many times. So it's just like jiu-jitsu. You need to, in order to get good at jiu-jitsu, you need to roll. You can't just watch instructionals on it, And that's the same thing with vlogging and all this. I just needed to record myself. My first few vlogs, I didn't even upload them. I scrapped the footage, But I got a lot of experience, and I got a lot more comfortable talking with the camera, where I can do that now. And still, like, I'm afraid to pull it out sometimes, unless I'm in the mood to. But I've gotten a lot better where, my last few vlogs, I've been able to just keep it on throughout, not even jiu-jitsu, but just going, like, hanging out with my friends, going out and doing stuff like that. So that's the biggest thing, is you just need to turn the camera on to you and start talking. Like my first time, it's on. I'm not even talking for 2 or 3 minutes, but it's on me, So that's the best way I'd say to work towards it. It's just literally just record yourself.
Just hit record. There we go.
I remember one time I was in my car, and I recorded a video. It's like 10 minutes long, and I'm just talking to the camera about how to do a triangle. Never uploaded, probably gonna delete it at some point, but it's there, and it's just that's something that helps me,
Just busting it out and doing it.
Yeah, just pressing record and going,
I feel like you're really one of the people the reason I really liked you is you are kind of taking, I know Tyler's really good at the like jiu-jitsu side of the YouTubing part, but I feel like you're really taking it to more of like a YouTube filming level. Yeah. And your content, like you're on the gimbal's behind you right now. You're on the gimbal. You're on the Canon R. So you have like a legitimate camera, and you're kind of progressing it. Why do you think that jiu-jitsu is like one of the few things where like you look at other jiu-jitsu people and like you're like, what the hell are they doing? This is horrible content. Why do you think it's so bad?
I just feel like jiu-jitsu guys, they care more about jiu-jitsu, than filming. And I have the same mentality in some sense, but coming into it more as a videographer, I had a little bit of a step up with my setup. And my dad's a photographer, and my mom's actually a YouTuber as well. She does cooking videos. She's got like 30K, but she doesn't.
You want to plug them?
Yeah, well, Mama cooks, but
there we go.
Yeah, she doesn't really record anymore. But I kind of took everything that they taught me and was able to use it for my videos. But that's the biggest difference. I kind of fell into it with my parents, kind of doing it as a hobby, and now me trying to take it more as a career. But I'd say like jiu-jitsu here, in my opinion, in 5 years, I feel like match commentary, everybody's going to do match commentary. There's so many blue belts that I see, like every day I'll go on YouTube and just keep refreshing the homepage just to see who pops up. And there's so many blue belts doing match commentary. So I feel like in order to really grow in the next 5 years, you gotta branch out, and you gotta do what the fitness industry did, where make people like you and just make content, like just talk to the camera, make it a conversation. And that's kind of where I want to take my channel. I want to do the match commentaries because they're fun and they're really educational, but I also want to put myself out there a little more with the vlogs and kind of take people through my daily life and kind of, travel, and that's where I want to end up in the next 5 years.
Okay. And you're wearing it right now, you have sponsors, and that's like, after talking and doing this podcast, I've noticed that a lot of the top people, they have the opposite kind of mindset that me and you have. And it seems like they're just like, no, fuck that. That's stupid. I'm just going to get really good at jiu-jitsu. But as like jiu-jitsu grows and we grow and everything kind of modernizes with it, like your Jiu-Jitsu Sucks has some like legit gear. It doesn't look like that weird stuff with like flames, and that just is awful. Why do you think that that's such a like negative view on jiu-jitsu, and it's like, oh no, that's just for the lower belts to be YouTubers and stuff?
Well, actually, I remember I posted in Reddit, bro. One of my and oh my god, I got
it's rough,
bro. 60 comments just being like, "You're trash. Get off this, Bob," And my uncle posted one of my videos in his Reddit, and there was this brown belt was like, "This is the thing that I'm like, I laugh at," and I'm like, "You are so ignorant." He was like, "Just shut up and train." It's like, yeah, okay, I'll just not let me go kill my YouTube channel, not do any of this, and I'm just gonna train. And it's like, yeah, I'll be good at jiu-jitsu, but am I making money off jiu-jitsu? Can I make a living off of it? I mean, yeah, if I want to go work a 9 to 5 and go train at night, cool, I could do that. But in my position, I just feel like I have so many resources where I can live off of this sport. I can do this for the rest of my life, and that's the way I think about it. Like, I want to do jiu-jitsu. What can get me there? I can get really good at jiu-jitsu, and unless I'm winning worlds at ADCC, which is very, very hard to do with people that are starting at 3 years old, especially like, going into this next gen. I need to find a different way to make money. And it's either I struggle really, like Gabriel, he's come from such a hard life, and he's made it, he's winning the biggest tournaments. Yeah. So not only is he getting, sponsors and stuff from that, but he's running his academy and he's all these different ways of making money within jiu-jitsu. But, coming up as a blue belt right now in this day and age, there's 1,000 other amazing blue belts, tens of thousands of other amazing blue belts. I need to separate myself. And, starting the YouTube channel, that's a revenue stream. And then being able to hopefully make sponsored content, like Tyler and Jordan, that's the next goal. Once I get enough of a following, then I can start, doing sponsorship videos and stuff like that. And that's where I can make money off of. So I wanted something that I could train, do jiu-jitsu, and make money off of jiu-jitsu. And I think YouTube was the way that I wanted to go, and one of the best ways that you can go to further your career as an upcoming blue belt or blue belt.
Yeah, just kind of get your foot in the door, and then have a good backing for you to continue.
Yeah, I mean, if like YJJS, right? Yeah. They reached out to me. They were like, "Hey, we love your hustle. We love what you're doing. Let me send you a free T-shirt." I was like, "Any strings attached?" They're like, "No, we just send you a free T-shirt." And now I'm working with them, which is really cool. And I've had a few other people, a few other companies go forward. Humble Warrior, they've sent me, a few rash guards and stuff, and I've worked with them in the past, and it's opened up so many doors. So starting this, and just like I was getting, sponsorships, just rash guards and free stuff back at like 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers, and that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. But once I get to 30, 40,000, where Tyler and all them are at, that's where I can like start making, sponsorship money. That's where it really, really comes in handy, climbing up the ladder.
Yeah, you gotta get there eventually.
Yeah.
Let's hit. I want you to give a YouTube starter kit that you would recommend for jiu-jitsu specific, and then hit me with your kit.
So like filming and all that stuff.
Yeah. So like, I say I'm brand new. I want to start a YouTube jiu-jitsu channel. What do I need? And it could be an iPhone and like the DJI gimbal, like whatever you think would be best.
Well, yeah. So if you look at Josh Rich's content, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's filming on an iPhone. It's nothing crazy. But
it's
he's
like an iPhone
60,
10.
60, 70,000 subscribers right now. You don't need anything crazy. Focus on your jiu-jitsu and your storyline, and you'll progress much faster than I did, focusing on cinematic and really nice fancy camera stuff. So I'd say get an iPhone or a Sony. If you're gonna spend money, get the Sony A7 III or the Sony A7S III. But you don't need it for jiu-jitsu, especially for jiu-jitsu guys. You do not need it. And then the one thing that I'll recommend if you're gonna start vlogging, Joby tripod. It's the Benny one that every vlogger uses. That's okay. I've bought many tripods. That is the one that I'm using currently, and that is the best one in my opinion. If you want a cheaper option, I'd say Sony ZV-1 is really good. It's a really good starter camera. And then 14-Day Filmmaker and Hayden Hillier-Smith. Those are the guys that I learned my editing from. 14-Day Filmmaker is $48. Best $48 I've ever spent. I actually started a lot of videography gigs from them, using that course, and that's something that I also made money off of to do jiu-jitsu. And then Hayden Hillier-Smith is the person that took my YouTube channel to a new level. So like that's my starter kit: 14-Day Filmmaker, Hayden Hillier-Smith, Joby tripod,
and an iPhone,
or an iPhone.
There we go.
That's really all you need. And iPhone, like you can make it on YouTube with it.
Easy.
My kit, I have a Canon EOS R 15 to 35 millimeter lens, Joby tripod. I use a DJI Mini 2. It's the drone.
Yeah.
And then
you got the gimbal behind you.
I have a gimbal. I have not used it in a while.
Okay.
All my recent videos, the last 3 recent videos, have been with just a handheld EOS R with a 35 millimeter lens. The gimbal is just too much to carry around and too much of a hassle to take on and off. So I don't use it that much anymore for videography gigs. Yeah, but you don't need it.
No needing it for vlogs.
No, you know what the biggest thing I recommend? Get a really, really good girlfriend and that films you and is okay with sitting like this for a few hours.
All right.
That's my biggest recommendation.
That was going to be the next question: is how do you get someone to film you? But there you go, you answered it.
Dude, Kate, I want to shout out Kate. She's probably the reason why I've made it so far on YouTube right now. She's my filmmaker, my business inquiry, or we talk a lot about. She helps me figure out stuff for YouTube. She's really, really helped me bring my channel up. So I want to thank her for everything she's done.
Well, shout out to Kate.
Shout out to Kate, man.
She's killing it.
She's really doing a great job. And look, for all my videos, all I got to pay her, coffee and Chick-fil-A. And we're
Easy.
Good. Easy. That's like $20. Best $20 I'll ever spend in my life.
I know. That's crazy. It's a cheap videographer for you right there.
It's changed my life. I used to have my dad do it, but she's just a little bit better.
There we go. So what's the future looking like for you and the channel in the next year? What tournaments are you going to be hitting, and where do you want your channel to be?
So, we're going up to Seattle. Or let me start here. Next month we're going to Tobago with all those guys, Jedi, Tyler, Jordan, and I'm hoping to get a lot of attention. Attention's a bad word, but
yeah.
I'm hoping to heighten my channel with that trip. Then moving up to Seattle, doing the road trip up there. I'm hitting a bunch of gyms, hopefully. And that's where I wanted to take my channel, was traveling, going to gyms, doing jiu-jitsu. Those are the 2 big trips that are coming up. Living in Seattle, I have a bunch of gyms there and a bunch of family that trains. Mm-hmm. So just exploring all the gyms in Seattle. Exploring a little bit of Canada too. I have a gym that I contacted up there a few months ago that I want to go to.
That's sick.
And then hopefully, I'm not competing gi worlds, but hopefully I'll be competing no gi worlds and no gi pants. It's either going to be both or one of, and then probably not gi worlds either, unless I win. Unless I win one of those tournaments, I'm not doing gi pants or gi worlds.
All right. So the bigger ones. Are you going to try and do one of the trials this year?
Probably not. ADCC trials. It's just it would be too much money for me to go down there and not be really confident. So yeah, I think I'm gonna sit out of trials until I have maybe another year or two under my belt. Because for me, it's like there's that mentality where it's like, bro, you need to be confident in yourself. You're gonna win. You got to go down there with a mentality you're gonna win. And it's like, bro, you're spending a good $1,000 to.
Oh yeah.
You better really believe it, you know.
Yeah, you better start getting sponsors in those YouTube.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to just kind of throw out there for a round one loss, and that's the end of your trip, you know.
That's
so
true.
I want to get a little more confident in my game first before going for ADCC. It's definitely on the list though, within the next year or two.
Well, hopefully we'll see that. And then what kind of keeps you just doing jiu-jitsu? Obviously it's your life now, but like you could always just quit and switch something else.
I love it, bro. And you hear that from everybody, but like for me, I grew up wanting to be a Power Ranger or a ninja of some sort. You know, I'm borderline. I'm almost there. You know?
Yeah, you're pretty close.
Yeah. So and the coolest thing is also growing up on like all the video games like Pokemon and just kind of wanting that lifestyle of traveling the world and playing Pokemon. But now I'm traveling the world and doing jiu-jitsu, which is close enough for me. So, you know, like I wanted to live that kind of childhood dream. And jiu-jitsu is the way that I can kind of is the catalyst for that dream.
That's awesome.
Going around exploring and you know, challenging different people, different gyms and stuff like that. That's the life I wanted to live, and that's jiu-jitsu something that can get me there.
There you go. And then I like to kind of try and close it off with this question. So what does BJJ mean to you?
Jiu-jitsu, BJJ. It's when I was younger, didn't really know how to fight, and not that fighting's good, but having the confidence, like I didn't necessarily get bullied a lot, but I didn't stick up for myself a lot either, you know. But now having this confidence, I'm a lot more confident. I feel so much better about myself. I want to say that's the right word, but you know, I don't know how to explain it without saying like I just feel so much more confident in myself, and having this has just allowed me to be myself more. You know, like if you're a little timid, you don't want to like put yourself out there as much. You know, I feel like that's such a burden to carry to walk around with. You know, you don't want to be yourself because people might talk down to you. They might be like, "What are you doing, bro? Like, stop!" And it's like, jiu-jitsu. It's given me that ability to stick up for myself and allow me to be me, I guess, in a way.
That's a awesome answer. That was a great answer. I have to say that.
In jiu-jitsu, like any kid that's I didn't necessarily struggle with this, but any kid that is struggling with you know, not having confidence, always getting pushed around, always getting talked down to, and not really having that ability to kind of stick up for yourself, jiu-jitsu will change your life in that aspect, you know. So and being able to know that like, okay, if he starts, you know, trying to fight me, I can handle him without hitting, without doing anything, and you're just so confident in your ability to hold your ground, I guess.
That's awesome. And then yeah, just let people know where they can find you and whatever else you want to tell them. You want to plug a sponsor or something?
Yeah. So my Instagram, Carsa, YouTube, Carsa, Carsahh. Your Jiu-Jitsu sucks. One of the best brands in the game. I love the rash guard. They have a bunch of really cool. They have a gi hoodie. Let me show you this real quick. It's not available anymore, but they have a gi hoodie. You can see it. Super, super cool. I haven't done a lot of video content for these guys, and I feel really bad because I kind of dropped off the face of the earth. But minimal snacks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna put content out soon. I need to talk to you guys. Minimal Snacks, love their brand. Yeah, that's it. I'd say that's just about everything.
Well, thanks for coming on. It was
Appreciate
awesome.
you for having me.
You had a lot of insight, and I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
I haven't done a podcast. I've been wanting to do one, so this was really, really fun.
There we go.